Today we're going to talk about how you can start implementing AI right now in your business, brought to you by Heaviside Digital. So, everybody's talking about AI. It's a huge deal. It's increasingly important every day, and I think everybody, and business owners in particular, want to know more and want to know how to actually implement it in their business. But it's not always clear what you should be doing. And so today I'm going to dig into what you should be doing, what you can be doing, and just some easy things you can do right now to get started to make sure that you're using it properly in your business. All right, so let's get right into it. So again, we're talking about how you can start implementing AI right now. It's just some of the fastest ways to start using AI right now without necessarily needing a big budget or a kind of complicated setup. So the place you want to start is kind of just the everyday things that you can do today. So instead of thinking about overhauling your business and if you follow the stuff at all, there's just people talk about crazy stuff. And, you know, that stuff will happen over time, but like nobody's going to start there. And I think the time frames that some people are talking about are just kind of ridiculous. So this doesn't need to be overcomplicated. Start with the simple things, and what you're really looking for here is improvements in productivity and automation. And basically, what these things are doing for you is they are improving your margins. So you're taking labor hours and you're compressing them, which means you can either have less labor hours or you can use the same number of labor hours to do more things. And so you're improving productivity and therefore improving your profitability. Okay, so easy things. Drafting emails. So it's good enough at this point that you really don't need, I'm not talking about short emails, but like anything that requires some sort of a somewhat detailed response, you should be able to use things like ChatGPT to generate that very quickly. So instead of taking 5 to 10 minutes, like thinking and typing it up, draft that email, read it, looks great, copy paste, boom, much faster. And if you compound that over a week for every employee that you have that has to send emails, you start to think about how that would add up, and it just gives them more time to do other things. Next thing you might think about is summarizing documents. So, like, if you're dealing with long contracts or long bids or you know, market research. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff. There's all this long reading, which you can really just have the AI do it for you and, you know, look at the results, look at what it's saying, ask questions. You can just kind of interact with things much more quickly than you could in the past. This also is true for meeting transcripts. So if you do any sort of, video calls, either with clients or with team members, start recording those and getting transcripts. We've started doing that. It does a number of things. And for me specifically, we've been tracking, our pre-sales conversations, our sales conversations for quite some time now. And so, what I do is I anonymize that data because I don't, it doesn't, who the individuals are don't matter for these sorts of purposes. But you start understanding trends. Who are my customers? Who buys? Why do they buy? Why don't they buy? What objections do they have? And so I've used that to create for each of the businesses that I run personas, which are marketing personas, which are basically customer A is kind of like this archetype, or customer B is like this archetype. And so it allows me to market more effectively because I know who my customers are and I know what objections they have. And then when they become customers, we know about the pain points they have or things that we could do better just by capturing all this information in a way that really wasn't possible previously and using it to improve our sales process and even more importantly for improving the services that we provide and making sure our customers have a great experience and that it works well for them. So these are sort of things that you can do with this stuff as you start getting more comfortable using it. Okay. And that really kind of gets at the third point I have here, which is speeding up research, right? So what I was talking about is a variant of that, but you can do that You can gather market intelligence. You can look at what your competitors are doing. You can understand what's happening, in your industry more broadly. You can really get very interesting and detailed reports that are generally pretty accurate, versus just kind of poking around on the web, which most people really don't even have time for right now. We're too busy. So it's not like you're sitting around reading website article one, website article. You just don't have time for that. But using these AI tools, you can have that done for you and read the results and kind of get information that you never had before because you just didn't have the time to go after it. Okay, so that's kind of getting started. Now, the bigger opportunity here is reducing repetitive work. So, automating emails, basic prompt writing, all these things, that's just the beginning. But where this really becomes powerful is where you can reduce the repetitive work that your team does over and over again. And so I'll give you a concrete example that I've done for my businesses. So, and this is advanced. You're not going to do this right out of the gate, but I just want to help you kind of think about what could be possible. So we had for years a very manual sales process. So we would do the market report, and if you're a customer or you've talked to us before, you've gone through this process. Especially it was a while ago, where what we do is we analyze your market. How are you doing in the maps? How are your competitors doing in the maps? Who's running ads? Um, now AI visibility, all kinds of stuff. Well, I had a team member who had to go and get all that information for, the person who was interested in their business and their competitors. That all had to be pulled together, and then it had to be turned into, a PowerPoint so that we could then get on the call and actually go through it and talk about it and then discuss whether it would make sense to work together, right? So this was a ton of work. And when we do these calls, only 40 to 50% of the people who say, hey, yeah, do this for me, actually show up to the call. So you can imagine there's also a lot of work that was done where the people never showed up, and that's actually not a bad number. That's average to good, for this sort of engagement. The market report or the sales call or whatever you want to call it. So we weren't. It's not that those were bad numbers. It's just you're doing all this work and people don't show up. It's kind of annoying. So what I did is I automated all of it. So this was hard to do, but all of the information retrieval, all of the presentation, the follow up, all of it. So the person who was doing that is now doing other things for me, and the sales team doesn't have to spend their time getting this together. The report's already done. The people who don't show up, the report just gets emailed to them anyway. So all of that massive amount of work was turned into basically an automated process that either my team can initiate or our potential customers themselves can initiate directly from our websites. So what that did was it freed up a bunch of labor hours, lots, that team members were spending putting these presentations together. It produces a superior result, but because now that I could automate it, I could bring more things in that I really wasn't doing before because it just took too long. And it's a better presentation. It's an automated presentation, and everybody who asks for it gets one, whether they get on our call or not. So it's a vastly improved process, costs us way less, better result, and now we can do more things. So this is a perfect example of the sorts of things that you can do with AI and some development ability, which I have. Okay, not everybody has that, but these are the sorts of things you can do. So as you think about your own business, what are some things that you have team members doing over and over and over again, moving data from one place to another, that maybe you could find a way to automate by hiring a developer or someone who knows how to do this kind of stuff? Okay, so here's some places where you can think about this. So moving data, as I just mentioned. So copying information between your CRM, spreadsheets, billing software. If you're just moving data back and forth, that can be automated pretty easily. Reporting, if you're pulling data in to like for performance reports or jobs reports or whatever, anything regarding reporting that also can be automated. Follow-ups and reminders. So, anything that requires manual email sent, billing, signatures, I mean, you name it. These sorts of things can all be automated, uh, to save time. And also things just in communication and general operations. So scheduling, emails back and forth, customer communications. Um, if depending on how advanced your sales process is, getting more information about leads before you talk to them, more information about projects, especially more commercial focused things. It's a little easier than if it's residential stuff. Um, but so just take some time and think about, what are you or people you are paying, spending your time doing over and over again that really just involves data moving from one place to another. If that makes sense to you, you should be able to find several places where there's probably a potential for improvement. Another very easy use case is AI phone answering. So I've been playing around with this for a while, and we have this integrated now in our Revenue Commander product. So, and we're using it. So if you call our phones, you will be answered by AI. And the latest version of it, it's, because we generally receive three types of calls. Potential customers that want to talk to us about doing business together. Current customers want to talk to their account manager. And annoying people, like salespeople, like Google calling to pretend they're going to help us with our, advertising, stuff like that. So I have set up our internal AI phone answering service to identify those use cases and handle them accordingly. So if a current customer calls, wants to talk to their account manager, it will kind of verify that basically, and then transfer the phone call to that person, or potentially schedule an appointment on the calendar. If a prospect who might want to do business with us calls, it will attempt to schedule a sales call with them on the calendar. And if a spam calls or sales or Google, things like that, it'll just take a message. And all those transcripts come directly to me. Okay, so I can see what's going on. I can see how it worked. And it answers phone calls 24/7. So if you're in the field, or if you just can't get to all the phone calls, you can set this up, and you can set up on multiple lines. So you can basically, because you want to do something like dynamic call routing, right? So you can actually track things that come in. So you can have this set up where, because you have a phone number pool, so you're tracking everything that comes in, you can do this with dynamic call tracking. So you can have AI answering, 3 or 4 different calls at once, handling them properly and routing things correctly. This is an amazing unlock, especially for people in the field, and it's working right now. I'm using it right now. If you call me, if you call one of our companies, you will see it in progress. And for our customers, it's something that we can do for you pretty easily. Okay, so that's a great use case. So, as you're thinking about this, prioritize your workflows and do the math. Okay, and you don't want to invest a bunch of time and money automating things that don't take that much time, right? It's not worth chasing. So kind of do the math in your head. And if it's something that can save an employee, 5 to 10 hours a week, and you think about what you're paying them in labor, and then work that out over a year, you can kind of understand if there's an ROI there for, doing something to address that. And, what it makes sense to spend to build something to do that. Does that kind of make sense? So do the math. You don't want to spend $3,000 with a custom email forwarding solution that will save you $200 in labor over a year. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, so if you want help with this process, I've put together something called an AI readiness assessment, and on all of my company's websites, depending on which market you're in, you can go and you can get this assessment. It's $1,000, but what it is, it's a very detailed questionnaire to help you identify where these things might be in your business and kind of help start putting numbers on this. If it makes sense for you to do this, what opportunities there are, um, and you know what you might be able to do to help your business thrive with AI. And so there's an intake questionnaire. It's going to go through all that stuff. Then there's a 45-minute phone call with me where basically I've looked at that questionnaire, I've done some analysis on it, and I'm going to want to talk to you in more detail, just kind of flesh this out. Like, is there stuff here? What do we see? And then, so then I'll go do the analysis, we'll find the things, we'll make the recommendations, and we'll tell you exactly what makes sense to you and kind of how it will work. Okay, then we'll have another 30-minute call to go through the findings, explain to you what you can do right now, what projects you might want to do, to even further it. But the objective of this is to, at bare minimum, save you or your employees 5+ hours per week. And if we can't do that, we'll give you a refund. Okay, because if we save you 5 hours a week for one employee, that's going to save you more than $1,000 per year. So it's a no-brainer. And if we can't do that, and we can do that with anybody, I think. So if we can't do that, money back. Simple as that. So it's on our websites. There should be a link coming if you receive notification about this webinar via email. There should be a link to it there. It's all automated. You can see another process that I've set up that's automated from start to finish, outside of talking to me, and just the analysis that I have to do. But if you're thinking about this, if you're thinking about AI, and you're not sure what to do, and you just need help from someone who's done it, I've built like 30 applications. I've done a ton of this. I build crazy stuff. So I can help you if you'd like help. And this is not a huge, windfall for me necessarily. There's specific people who watch these videos that tend to become our customers. And so, these are the people I want to help. And so I think this is the way I can do it. And that's why we offer the service. And everybody's going to have to do this. So those who get started earlier are going to be farther ahead. Okay. So setting that aside, this month, if you want to do stuff, in the first week, just kind of audit what people do. Look for repetitive manual tasks that could potentially be automated. And then week 2, just pick one, something that would be easy to do. Do some research, or use AI and be like, hey, how can I automate this, right? Use the tools to figure out what tools to use. And then in week 3, deploy that. So take that employee, give them that tool, and then in week 4, see how they did with it. Okay? And just find out if it's having the impact that you thought it might have. And if you could do something like this every month, by the end of the year, you should see a huge increase in your productivity just from little things like this. Okay? And so the goal is really to take one clear AI idea from, we should probably do this, to something you can actually start implementing this month. And if you start doing this, you're definitely going to see the benefits. Okay? So bottom line is, stop wasting time. AI is no longer just for enterprise tech companies. It's not just for nerds. It's accessible, it's affordable, and it's a tool that you can use to help make your daily operations smoother and more profitable. So if you aren't doing it yet, it's time to start. Okay, and next steps, look around on the site. Should be easy to find. If you want to work with me, go ahead and get your AI readiness assessment. I'd love to help you out. And I hope this was a helpful video, and I hope you use it to start taking these steps that you need to take to use AI to improve your business. Thanks for watching.